And ultimately, a board should be that high performing environment. You should be, and part of the appeal of sitting on a board is to be around people that are thinking at a much higher strategic level, to have those connections, and just to challenge yourself to constantly be better and deliver on something that's much bigger than yourself. So that was kind of the connections.
And that's a great segue into the company, right? It's called Veblen, if I'm
Veblen.
correct. What does the name mean? I know it has a reason behind why you've called it Veblen.
Yeah, so Thorsten Veblen was an economist in the US. He had a few controversial ideas, but one of his most famous is, in general theories of economy, if you want to sell more of something, you push the price down so it can appeal to a wider audience. And yet luxury goods have the reverse effect. The more you charge for a Bugatti or a Louis Vuitton bag, the more valuable that becomes. And actually what you see in the world of business is that the kind of the highest credibility you can have is sitting on the board of one of the biggest companies, and you become incredibly valuable because of that. So yeah, the idea was really to help people to get their first board seat so they get on that rung of that ladder, and ultimately build up and increase their value through on Instagram they use Lambos and nice watches, but on LinkedIn you can use board seats to achieve the same result.
Before we get off what Veblen does, what your organization does, how do people, if they're interested in maybe joining the program or joining the community, what do they need to do? Is there any qualification, or is there any way that they need to apply in particular?
So I think one of the things I learned very early on in my board journey was I kept meeting all of these people and there's a lot of pressure on companies to bring people in that are very experienced to sit on the board. The old grey hairs. All my hair fell out before it turned grey, but the stock markets were demanding, and what investors were demanding for the last century has been, we want people on the board with 10 to 20 years board experience. And what that meant was you ended up with a relatively small pool of people sitting on a lot of boards who didn't really care about the companies that they were serving on, because the companies needed them more than they needed the companies. And so they were being very well paid, but the companies were basically ticking a box by having these people on the boards.
Right.
What I discovered was I would much rather have somebody on a board that lacked experience but had genuine curiosity and enthusiasm and energy to learn. And that to me is far more valuable, because those are the people that are actually going to go out and fix problems and bring in investors and bring in you, as opposed to the person that has the immaculate CV but does nothing because it's basically, they're semi-retired and don't care. And so, yeah, in terms of people that are right for our program, it's people that are likely overlooked, likely frustrated, know that they're capable of doing more. We have a lot of small business owners that, you can make a great impact as a small business owner, but sitting on the board of a big company gives you a chance to have a much bigger impact. And just a lot of employees that I think a lot of our members are kind of in their late 30s, 40s, early 50s. They're in decent companies, decent job, but they've kind of realized that sticking their head down and waiting for 20 years and hoping someone taps them on the shoulder for a board seat isn't the most appealing route. And if they can fast track it, then that's what they want to do. So it's a really good way, like starting to look outside of your organization, sit on the board of somebody else. It's a great way to indicate to everyone in your organization that you're way bigger and more valuable than they had initially understood. So yeah, it's basically attitudinal is what we're looking for. But yeah, anyone that thinks this might be something of interest, check us out on LinkedIn or YouTube, or just go to veblendirectors.com. There's normally my latest webinar down the bottom of that, which kind of goes through the whole process.